Hello, Laurel Hill, and welcome to week 6 in general music for grades 3 and 4. I'm going to start a little bit backwards today. We're going to start with moving to some music, and we're going to end with the music of the month. So we're going to do the skeleton dance here. The conductor is the skeleton. When he jumps on one of these shapes, it means a different motion. So if he jumps on red, I want you to pat. And if he jumps on, or she, I don't know, how would you know? If he jumps on the yellow gear, you're going to clap. If the skeleton jumps on orange, you're going to tap. And blue, you're going to shake. Okay, shake something. I don't shake whatever. Okay, lots of shaking. Here we go. Get ready to move to the music, please. You may stand if you're able. Woo, good job. Good job moving to the music. Okay, so also that is going to be your activity of the week. There's a couple of choices for 3rd and 4th grade, but feel free to do this as your activity of the week. You can move to the music. If you get bored of that and you want to put like an instrument, like a homemade drum on the red circle, you can do that too. You can add 1 or 2 instruments. It's going to be tricky if you try to do all 4, but maybe you're up for the challenge. So you can move to the music. You can add an instrument. That is your choice this week. Okay, so my question is, how did you do last week on the What Instrument Did You Hear game? How did you do, boys and girls? I hope you did very well. What we're going to do this week is we're going to go over another family of instruments of the orchestra so that if you want to go back and play that again, you might get a better score on that game. Okay, so let's just real quick go over where to find that game again and how to play. So if you're on musicplay.com, you're on Music Play, and you go down 1, 2, 3, the fourth box down, and you click on it, you're going to play What Instruments Do You Hear? And remember from last week is where we, if you're correct, you'll hear this sound. If you're wrong, you hear this sound. And frogs all day. And then remember to turn the page. You got to turn the page in this game. It's that little red arrow down there. Okay, so let's just do a couple as an example. Touch the frog to hear an instrument. And then you have to choose, was that the harp, the cymbals, or the chimes? I'm going to choose chimes. No, not right. Okay, so let's do one more. Just as a, okay. So this frog is either going to play the piano, the flute, or the bass drum. Let's see what he plays. Okay, let's pretend I think that's the drum. Frogs all day. That was the flute. Yay, and you can hear it again. So I encourage you to play that again. Every time you play, you're going to improve your listening skills. I know it's a game, but it also is going to improve your listening skills. Okay, when I want to get out of here. So what we're going to do today, also to improve your listening skills, is we're going to go over another family of instruments of the orchestra. You can go through these slides on your own time as well. They're all right here for you on musicplay.com. Isn't that nice? Music Play Online. Okay, last week, we got up to the harp. So we're going to start with the woodwind family. Yay, woodwind family. My house is full of woodwind players. My husband plays the bassoon, my middle child plays the clarinet, and my youngest daughter plays the flute. So we have a lot of woodwind players around here. All right, so a little bit about the woodwind family. Wind, they all require you to blow into them to play. So that has something they have in common. Remember, with the four families, we're grouping instruments by what they have in common. Okay, so they all have wind. Also, the flute used to be made out of wood, and the wood plays an important role in all of these instruments, as we'll get to. So the flute is the highest. The smaller the instrument, the higher the sound. We're going to ignore loud and soft this week. That confused some people last week, big time. So we're only going to talk about high versus low. High, low. Okay. So here's the sound of the flute. And we just heard that. The oboe, you can't see it very well in this picture, and I apologize for that, but the oboe has a little reed, and I might get a reed to show you in our next class so that you can really see it. It has a little piece of wood called a reed at the top, and that is how the sound is made. The wind goes into the reed, and the reed vibrates and makes the sound. Okay, so here's an oboe. It's a woodwind instrument. Oboe. The clarinet also has a reed, a little piece of wood at the top that makes the sound go. That's what is vibrating to make the sound, and you blow into it. That's why it's a woodwind. Here's the clarinet. The bassoon is the longest woodwind in this picture. So is it going to be the highest or the lowest? High, low. Let's hear it. The longer the instrument, the lower the sound. So the flute is the highest woodwind right now, well, in this picture. And the bassoon is the lowest one in that picture. Okay, let's go. There's another one, woodwind. There's a little piece of wood at the top of this saxophone that makes the sound. The little piece of wood is called a reed, and you blow into it, and that's why it's a woodwind. This is two different sizes of saxophone, the alto saxophone and the tenor saxophone. Which one is bigger? The tenor saxophone. So knowing the rules, which one should sound lower? Make a guess. All right, let's see if you're right. Here's the alto. And here's the tenor. So the tenor is bigger. Some of its notes are lower. That doesn't mean it can't play higher. It means it can go lower than the alto because it's a bigger instrument. The brass family. Moving on. The brass family has no reed. To play a brass instrument, you have to buzz your lips, kind of make an elephant sound. Yeah, my dog hates that sound every time I do it. You should try it around your pets and see what they do. He's looking at me like, don't do that. So a brass player is really good at getting their lips to buzz. That's what's vibrating, and the air goes through the brass instrument. You can see from the color that these are made out of brass. There's no reed at the top. They use their lips, okay? So looking at these brass instruments, which one, point to the one that's the highest. Remember our rule? The smaller the instrument, the higher it is. The bigger the instrument, the lower it is. Okay, we're just talking about high and low today. Let's see if you're right. So on this page, the trumpet is the highest. Here's the tuba. It's the lowest one on this page. Okay, here's the trombone. The trombone has a slide that makes it sound unique. It can... You know that tune. And here's the last brass instrument of the day is the French horn. Okay, so before we go, we're going to just review the string family. Just a quick review of what we did last week. And then I'll let you go. You've got lots that you can do on your own. So just remember our rule that we were talking about today. The smaller the instrument, the higher the sound. So do you remember which string family instrument would be the highest? Which one is the smallest? Remember the name? Okay. And then the next one down would be the viola. Now the cellist, the players are now sitting down. You play the cello sitting down in a chair. You also must pronounce that word cello. Do not say cello. That's not it. You got to say cello. And the string bass is often played standing up, or the players are sitting on that kind of perched on a stool because it is tall. All right, good review today. Third and fourth grade. So we went over a couple more families. You can do this on your own. You can keep learning about the instruments of the orchestra. You could play the game, test your listening skills out after you've tried some and see how you do. You could move to the skeleton. So there's lots to do. And there's one more thing I want you to do this week is go ahead and play the story of Danse Macabre. Listen for all those instruments that we're talking about. This listening map it'll show you when the flute is playing. It'll show you when the strings are playing. It'll show you when the brass are playing, and you'll see some of the instruments we just talked about. So it's a great way to listen to a story told by music and also be practicing those listening skills for which instruments do you hear, which is a great skill to have. It really makes sure your ears pay attention, and it kind of makes your brain wake up to different parts of the music. And every time you listen to it, you should hear something new. This is a complex piece of music. Every time I listen to that, I hear a new part of it. So don't say, oh, I already heard it. No, there's more to hear in that piece of music. Have a great time listening to music, finding instruments of the orchestra, moving to music. I will see you in class next week. Just a quick side note, we had some very nervous string players who were worried about note names because now they're needing to apply what they know about note names and strings, and they're worried about what they forget. So next week, we're going to throw in an extra review of note names a little bit, and I'll show you where you can practice on your own, okay? So if you're in strings and you're kind of worried that you've forgotten everything you've learned about music, don't worry, you haven't, and we're going to review it next week. All right, goodbye, Laura Hill. Do some practicing on your own now, and learn all about those instruments of the orchestra. You can do it all on your own on Music Play Online.